So it's Red Tractor Farm Assurance, and you should see that on, if you go into a supermarket. Well, look at this, blue sky behind me, even a little bit of sun in the sky, and I've got the cows still out. How about that? I didn't think I'd say that this week, but look behind. We've got nothing in this yard yet. They're still out in the daytime. So it's a bit of a miracle really, because it was horrendously wet at the weekend, and I thought I was going to have to bring them back in, and then basically it's brightened up. We still got water down on the lower fields, and I've had to move the young stock, but because I still got a bit of grass, I'm keeping them out. I don't know, I think realistically I'm going to wing it and try and get them out this weekend. After this weekend, I think that's it really. Fairer for them to come in. The clamp, since I opened it, look, we started there. That was where we were when I took the tyres off. And they've moved back to here. Now the actual silage quality is pretty good. I'm quite pleased that that's dried out because it's been cleared on the front. Obviously they've eaten that last night, but that's a nice, smells good, nice moist sample. I've got a bit of rot on a bit of an issue on the top. Now I think we might find a difference when we go back with the when we go back to the bales, because they give more of an even weight. I'm wondering whether there's could be a couple of reasons why that's not fermented well. Is that maybe the tyres didn't give it enough pressure. I can't remember whether we put the tyres on a bit late and they didn't weigh the sheet down, or whether there's a random old load put on the top that wasn't rolled properly. I don't know. But it could be that we didn't get the tyres on quick enough and so make a proper seal. But I'm hoping when we get to the straw, they would have definitely squished out any air and it won't be rotten like that. Because obviously that's costing you money, isn't it? If you're chucking out rot like that, there's a manky bit. They ain't gonna eat that. But they're self-feeding well. But I noticed today is the first day where they've told me they're starting to think they want to come in. Look, because they've just come up. It's now what, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They've come up and they're just hanging around there. So they sort of, I know how it works with the cows now. We've been doing it a long time. Up until today, they hadn't been coming back to the farm. So we turn them out, and then when we want to get them in for milking, we've had to go down to the field. I've got something to talk about in a minute. Sorry, it's distraction. Red Tractor Farm Assurance. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, up till today, we turn them out in the morning, they would be out in the field and they wouldn't come back up, but they've come back up today. So I think that's really kind of them telling me that they're sort of wanting to come back in soon. But they're not at the stage that where some years, I know when we're really desperate to get them out, some years I've taken them out in the field and I've really struggled to get them go down to any grazing. So that's not happening at the moment. Oh, flipping it, the phone's going. Right, back in a minute. Better the phone keeps ringing, isn't it, than not ringing. Right, so, well, I'm completely confused where I was now. I've forgotten what I was talking about. Oh, it's the cows out, isn't it? Anyway, some years we have to take them out and they don't want to go out and they come back really quickly. Today's the first day they've come back, so that tells me that they're thinking they want to come in for winter now. And really all I'm doing is being a little bit selfish and buying myself some time for myself by not having them in. But so I think after the weekend on Monday, I think they'll be inside, and Sunday, Monday, depends what the weather does really. So anyway, I'm going to talk about Red Tractor in a minute, but I just thought I'd talk to you a couple of other points someone's asked me. Firstly, what happened with the Land Rover, because you might remember I had a real problem with lack of power. Lack of power on it. There she is. Good old Land Rover, lovely vehicle, that, beautiful. I had a real issue with it. It was absolutely gutless and it was chucking loads of smoke out. Anyway, I took up the local garage and lo and behold, it was a number of things. So air filter was ganky. Ganky is another made up word, isn't it? Well, it was just dirty. Fuel filter was blocked, but also the breather on the engine or whatever was blocked as well. So it's just basically lack of maintenance on my part. You know what it's like, you drive this thing around. I think it probably, over time, it had probably been losing a bit of power. But you kind of ignore that because I'm only driving up and down the road half a mile, check the cattle and back. And eventually, all those things created a massive problem, which really showed up. So I had no power and blue smoke everywhere. So we sorted that now. So it's a reasonable bill, but it sorted it out, which is good. But I've still got a few issues. I've got a blowing exhaust on it. I've got a wheel arch that's a bit loose. I've got seat cover I need to change. I can't get the flipping driver's seat off. The bolt is all seized up and I need to get that off to put a new seat cover on it. So that's got to be done. Farm assurance, we're going to talk about that. We're going to end up in Tesco's at the end of this video as well. Right, anyway, I just got the other catch up as well. I thought we'd just talk about the little calf that I had premature a while back. I thought someone asked me how that was, so I thought we'd have a quick look at it. Let's go and have a look. So if I can find the video clip, I'll put it up here. There's a premature calf born, I think 2 or 3 weeks early, and it was a tiny little thing. In fact, here's a little clip of it. Come on, little, look how skinny it is. I don't think you can really just see how small this calf is until, if you look at it there, look at the size of this one next door. Only a few weeks older, a week older. This thing, so that one's up to the bar, top bar. This is up to the second bar. All right, come on. Come on, little lady. Look, there's your big sister next door. Come on, come on. There you go. There you go. Look at you. Sucking on that. Look at that. Beautiful. Good girl. Come on. Come on. Come on. You know it's there. Come on. That's it. Bingo jingo. And now this is the premature calf. Look at it. Hello. In fact, it needs to come out of here now. It's too big for it. It's eating well though. It's got these pellets in there. Look at the size of it. There's nothing wrong with that calf. It's come on really well. Haven't you? Hello. Hello. You were a fighter, you were, weren't you? You were a bit of a legend, you were. We'll have to think of a name for it. What number is it? I can't see his ear tag. 1656, I think it is. Well, hold your ear still a minute, darling. Come on. 1656. Yeah, 1656. So we got 1656 in the pen here, which she will be in the herd soon, or not soon. She will be in the herd in the next. Turn the lights out. Save electric. She'll be in the herd in the next kind of, well, 2 years probably, 2.5 years, 2.5 years. She'll be in the dairy herd. So. Really pleased with that calf because it was looking terrible and it was just so small. In fact, it wasn't looking terrible, it was just looking so small. And what amazed me about that calf, and it just shows what can happen, is that right from the very start it was a little fighter. It just wanted to live. And I've had calves that have been bigger than that and they kind of lose the will to live, if you like, when they're born and if they're a bit poorly. But that one, even though it's premature, it just wanted to eat, it just wanted to get on, and that was a real result. And I'm really pleased to see it thriving in that pen. It'll be out of that pen. I've got to dehorn it first. We do that ourselves, disbud it. We put a burner thing in, anaesthetic, and a bit of Metacam, and then you burn the buds out. So that'll be done, and then that'll come out of there into a bigger pen and move on up through the system. Right, so I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about farm assurance, because there's been kicking off a little bit about that, and there's been if you're in the farming press, you'll know that there's been a big kick-off about this thing that they were trying to introduce called the Greener Farming Initiative, which is kind of basically what they wanted to do was impose, so say voluntary, a load of extra stuff on top of the farm assurance for greening. So let me just tell you a little bit about farm assurance, and I hope at least if you're a customer of British food, you're aware of this logo, because this is the logo we're promised is going to make a difference when people are shopping. So it's Red Tractor Farm Assurance, and you should see that on, if you go into a supermarket, if you buy products like meat and actually vegetables, and I'm not sure whether it's on bakery and stuff, but certainly if it's a British product, you'd hope that it would have that, but not always. And the idea is basically it's an MOT system for farming. So I have to do it as part of my contract with supplying Muller. They wouldn't take my milk if I wasn't farm assured. So and the same goes for quite a lot of other producers that sell into, say, supermarkets and stuff. They need to be farm assured. But the thing is, and I think I can quite fairly say this, there's a lot of farmers that have got issue with it. And I find it difficult myself, because it came out in about the year 2000 as a kind of promise that it would give the customers confidence in your product, if you were, because you've got to reach a certain standard. And I think that's fair enough. You know, the British public expect things to have things like, if you're using antibiotics, you adhere to the withdrawal of the time that they're in the animal or whatever before you, say, put the milk in the tank, or you record where you put fertilizer, or you, I don't know, you make sure that you've got a vet plan and things like that, so that your animals are looked after well. But the problem being with it, over that 23-year period, the amount of extra stuff that has been added to it and bolted on every year, to the point where I think a lot of farmers just think, is this worth it? Because the reality is it adds no premium to your product when you sell it, but also it's actually adding cost to your business. I know for a fact that we have to pay the vet to do a vet plan, a herd plan and stuff, health plan. A vet is about £2 a minute to have it on the farm. £2 a minute, plus a 40 quid call out fee every time you get one out. So they're not going to do that in 5 minutes, I can tell you that now. Another example is that it was bolted onto me a few years ago. So we already test our milking parlour. This is the refrigeration unit. This is the compressors that cool our milk, okay? So imagine, you've got your fridge, you've got a little thing in the back that cools your fridge, okay? Pretty well a sealed unit. Basically either goes wrong or it doesn't. There isn't much to it. Now, that we've been using this for years. In fact, I've got two. So if I've got a problem with one, the other one I can use. So I alternate them every 6 months or every 3 months or something, so they're always all of them are able to run. I make sure I've got a backup. Suddenly in Red Tractor Farm Assurance, I suddenly then had to prove that I service them every year. Well, I'm not servicing that myself, I'm not a qualified technician. Realistically, there's bugger all to service on them. You think about it, you never service your fridge, do you? So suddenly I had to pay an engineer to come down and basically check them, and all they do, I've seen them do it really, most of the time he was on Facebook, he just plugs something and checks the gas level and fiddles around with a few bits, blows out the rads and stuff, about 200 quid or 150 quid, I can't remember the exact amount, with VAT and everything. That was a bill that was just loaded onto me by someone in an office suddenly saying you need to be doing that as part of your farm assurance. Now, to my mind, that should have been up to me what I do with that, because that's a bit like someone saying to you, you're driving to work for me, I want to see your service documents for your car when you drive to work for me. It's up to you when you service your car, isn't it? Your boss shouldn't have to tell you. And that added to all the other costs like the vet stuff and stuff. But that's just a little example. And I think the thing with farm assurance is, and I say this from my brother and me, every year there's new rules that come out and you just think, oh God. So anyway, back to where we're going with this, the Greener Farming Initiative, I think that's the correct name for it. They were about to, or trying to impose a load of extra bureaucracy onto this farm assurance thing, and it was going to be coming out next year, supposedly in conjunction with what the supermarkets wanted, but never mind what the farmer wanted, never mind that the farmer might have to endure a lot of extra cost and time to try and make this, and for what benefit? No extra income or promise of any extra money. And there has been a significant backlash to this, and I could see why, because it's almost like enough is enough. I think the Red Tractor scheme is a good idea. We do need to have some sort of standard that we all achieve to, but there's a point where you can push people too far, and then people just start thinking, well, sod it, I won't bother, because you can still sell things, like some people can sell beef cattle into an abattoir or at market without being farm assured. So a big pushback on that. And now it's up for consultation. I think they've pulled back, but they're still not guaranteed they're going to scrap it. But the interesting thing is the idea was it's voluntary, but from my experience of all this voluntary stuff, it starts out voluntary, and then lo and behold, the next year someone decides it's going to be compulsory, and then you're stuck with it. And very much, I think a lot of farmers have a feeling that the people who make these rules are the people who sit in an office and don't have to worry about how you fit them into your farming business. You know, certainly I know from our experience that every time it adds extra rules, it's extra time in the office when I could be out here doing something. But on that note, right, I thought there's an interesting project. I've got to drop my son at football tonight. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to go in with Tesco's undercover. Well, not really undercover, but I'm going to take this. I'm not going to tell them I'm coming. I'm going to look and see where the farm assurance badges are on the food down there and what's covered by it. Because although I supply it, I'm not 100% sure. I'm only involved with milk side of it. I'm not 100% sure where we're going with this in the supermarket. Because the thing is, I know for a fact that if you import food, this is what really annoys a lot of British farmers. If you import food into this country, it doesn't have to be Red Tractor Farm Assured. So the guys who are producing Red Tractor Farm Assured grain are competing against people who are importing it into the UK with no Red Tractor Farm Assurance. Now, I'm not saying they haven't got some sort of standards from those countries, but there's no way of knowing whether, or I don't know whether those standards are the same as the UK. Which is rather galling, isn't it? Because you see chicken from Thailand on some sort of chicken packs, and you think, I've been to Thailand. I can tell you this, they don't look after people as well as they do in the UK. So what are they going to do with animals over there? I don't know. But I thought, do you know what? I'm going to nip into Tesco's. I got to go there anyway. I'm going to look at the packs on things like bacon, and I'm sure it'll be all over the milk because it's compulsory to supply milk with a Red Tractor. But I thought I'd see what the situation is. So if you come with me now, let's fast forward till this evening. I'm going to have a look in Tesco's. Part of the reason I haven't said or asked permission is that A, I think they'll probably say you can't do it. B, if I say I'm coming in to see what Red Tractor stuff you've got in your shop, what are they going to do? They're going to tell all the management to blooming load up Red Tractor on the front, aren't they? So there is a possibility with this video that someone might tap me on the shoulder and say, what are you doing in this shop with that camcorder? Get out. In which case we'll have a video. We'll see. Right, stick with me. I'm going in for lunch now, but realistically, tonight I'm heading to Tesco's, and I've only picked Tesco's because it's down the road from me. It's the nearest supermarket to me. I haven't picked it because I've got any particular battle with Tesco's or Morrison's or whatever. It's just the fact that it's one that I think is if I'm going to go in there as a general shopper and see what I can see about Red Tractor. All right, let's crack on.